to She's First Live Ruth Bible Study. We're going to be doing session 1 today, which will be all about chapter 1. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. Ruth is one of my favorite books in the Bible. It means a lot to our family, so it's something that we have studied and read over and over. It's just a great book, a great story of redemption and showing how God has the perfect plan for our lives, even though sometimes we make wrong choices or we think we're making the right decision. He eventually turns everything around for our good. So I'm so excited to be live. It's kind of scary, kind of intimidating. So if you're here, just say, hey, what's up? I'd love to say, hey, that you're, say hi to you, and thank you if I mess up. Give me a little bit of grace because we'll be looking at my notes, and I am just so excited to get started. All right, so we are going to start with chapter 1. So if you want to follow along and you have your Bible, get it open to Ruth, and we will start from there. Before we get into the chapter, you have to understand, hey guys, I see you guys, what's up? Before we get into chapter 1, you have to kind of understand the backstory of Ruth and her family and why they decided to leave Bethlehem. And so I'm kind of going to give you a little bit of the backstory before we dig into right at the beginning of chapter 1. So Naomi's family, they used to live in Bethlehem, and they decided there was a famine in the land, and her husband and her decided that they were going to leave Bethlehem and go to another place that was better off, and that place was called Moab. So what's so funny is that Bethlehem was known, this is what it was translated into, the house of bread. But at that particular time that they were living in, there was a famine in the land. So there was food shortages everywhere. So they decided to get up and leave and go and take their family to this other place called Moab. Well, Moab was known for a lot of pagans living there. And they really did not, they weren't Jews, they weren't Israelites. So it was a very odd place for them to go, but because they were doing better off than Bethlehem, they decided to take their family and go there. So it is also, let me give you the time that it was set. The time that it was set, it was around the time of Judges, which means that it was a period of social and religious disorder. And when I found that out, I was kind of like, whoa, that kind of resonated with me, because one of the things that my Bible highlighted was that everyone did whatever he wanted. So around that time that this was taking place, everyone did whatever they felt like doing. They didn't care about the laws. They didn't care about God's laws. They didn't care about doing what was right. So Naomi and her husband, which his name is Elimelech, so I know these names are so weird, so just bear with me, decided to take their 2 sons and go to Moab. So after they got there to Moab, let's find out what happened. So let's go ahead and get started reading a little bit. So during the time of Judges, there was a famine in the land, which we talked about that. A man left Bethlehem in Judah with his wife and 2 sons to live in the land of Moab for a while. So they left the house of bread to go to Moab. The man's name was Elimelech, and his wife's name was Naomi. They had 2 sons. One was called Mahlon and Chilion, and they were Euphrates from Bethlehem in Judah. They entered the land of Moab and settled there. Naomi's husband, Elimelech, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. So let's just stop there for a minute. Let's just talk about her husband passing away. We don't really know if it happened like suddenly, right when they moved there. We don't really know. But we know that her husband passes away. Well, I mean, I just can't even imagine us going into a new place and my husband passing away and leaving me with my kids. Like, I know that that had to be a really, really hard time for her. I'm sure that she doubted that I make the right decision to leave Bethlehem, to come over here. Now my husband's dead. I'm here left with 2 sons, you know, and how can we relate that to our lives? How can we relate what just happened in those short little verses to our life? You know, there's a lot of doubt. Like doubt can creep in. And are we making those right choices? So I'm sure that that was going through Naomi's head. So she had 2 sons. Let's keep on reading. Now we are on we finished reading verse 3. Naomi's husband, Elimelech, died, and she was left with her 2 sons. Her sons took Moabite women as their wives. One was named Orpah, and the second was named Ruth. After they lived in Moab about 10 years, so now we're fast forwarding, they've been there for 10 years. It says that both Mahlon and Chilion also died. So now Naomi's 2 sons have passed away. So not only has her husband passed away, now her 2 sons are passing away. Oh, I can't. I'm a mother. I'm sure that her soul is hurt. There is a lot of questioning happening. You know, it's just a dark time, sorrow. I just can't even imagine. So they did marry, so they did have 2 wives. So now Naomi was left with 2 daughter-in-laws, Orpah and Ruth. So she was left without her 2 children and without her husband. Let's back up a little bit. It was customary for them to take these Moabite women as their wife. Or it was not customary. I'm sorry, that's what I meant to say. It was not customary for Chilion, I think that was his name, Chilion and Mahlon to take on these 2 women. It was not customary. So why? Because they were from Bethlehem. And so these Moabite women were considered pagans. And so what that meant was that it was against the law. The law forbade them to marry these women because they had a reputation of leading these Israelite men or leading them away from God. They worshiped false gods. So it wasn't really their custom to marry Moabite women, but they did anyways. So let's go down to verse 6. She and her daughter-in-laws prepared to leave the land of Moab. Now they're rethinking, okay, maybe we don't need to be here. Let's get our stuff and let's get out of here. So she and her daughter-in-laws prepared to leave the land of Moab because she had heard in Moab that the Lord had paid attention to his people's need by providing them food. She left the place where she had been living, accompanied by her 2 daughter-in-laws, and traveled along the road leading back to the land of Judah. So now here we see her husband has passed, her 2 children. She's heard that back where they were from, Bethlehem, the house of bread, things are seeming to look good. They are going to pack up their stuff and go back to the land of Judah. She said to each of them, "Each of you go back to your mother's home. May the Lord show faithful love to you as you have shown to the dead and to me." So she's telling them, okay, look, you don't need to go back with me to Bethlehem. You can go back to your families. There's no need for you to stay with me. And she says, "May the Lord enable each of you to find security in the house of your new husband." She kissed them and they wept loudly. Let's just talk about that for a little bit. They wept loudly. That to me tells me that they had a really close relationship with their mother-in-law, with Naomi, that they were sad. They didn't want to leave her. They loved her. So that makes me feel like they had a really good relationship. They wept loudly. "No," they said to her, "we will go with you to your people." So they both said to Naomi, "No, we're not going back. We're staying with you." But listen here what it says in verse 11. It says, "But Naomi replied, 'Return home, my daughters. Why do you want to go with me? Am I able to have any more sons who could become your husbands?'" So she's like, I'm not going to give, I don't have a husband, so I can't give birth to another son. Go on, for I am too old to have another husband. Even if I thought there was still hope for me to have a husband tonight and bear sons, would you be willing to wait for them to grow up? So she's like, this is going to take too long, guys. Like, you're not going to want to wait for, even if I have children right now, you're not going to wait for them. You'll be an old person. Would you restrain yourselves from remarrying? No, my daughters, my life is much too bitter for you to share. Let's stop right there. Right there, she's telling them she was bitter. And it's so easy for us when we go through a hard time. And I know, I can't even imagine, I can't comprehend. She lost her husband, her 2 sons. Now she's bitter. She's become bitter. And it's so easy for us to become bitter when we're going through the hard times, when we don't understand God's plan, when it seems hopeless. I've been there. I've done that. I was very bitter as a teenager, very, very bitter for circumstances that happened in my life. And why does it say trying to reconnect? Okay, is it still back on? Okay, so sorry guys, it said it was trying to reconnect. I was very bitter for some things that happened to me as a teenager, and I held all that bitterness inside. And if I can tell you one thing, bitterness, it affects you. It affects how you act. It affects how you see things. It affects your attitude towards circumstances. So right here, Naomi says, my life is too bitter for you to share. So she's like, you know what, girls, just go go find a husband. I'm too bitter. She wanted to be all alone. Because the Lord's hand has turned against me. She thought God was against her. She thought that God had just completely left her. God. Okay, man, you know what? Sometimes we got to go through it. Sometimes we got to go through death. Sometimes we have to go through pain. Sometimes we have to go through disappointments. Sometimes we have to go through letdowns. Sometimes we have to go through the nitty gritty, through the most unimaginable, crazy things. Yes, sometimes we do. Favorite verse is what Ruth replies to her mother-in-law and says, do not persuade me to leave you or go back and not follow you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you live, I will live. Your people will be my people, and your God will be my God. Okay, let's stop right there. First of all, her people were not her people. Her God was not her God, because she was a Moabite. And what were Moabite people known for? They were known for worshiping other gods, false gods. But right here, and I think I wrote down in my notes, hold on guys, that, yeah, she even mentions, she's even mentioning her God. Your people will be my people and your God will be my God. Yahweh, which was not her God. She is making a declaration. Sometimes we have to make declarations, crazy declarations. And to me, this was a crazy declaration, because Ruth did not want to leave her side. She was sad, and she was willing to make Naomi's God her God, Yahweh. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. I mean, this just shows to me her love and dedication to her mother-in-law. And then here she says, may Yahweh punish me, and do so severely, if anything but death separates you and me. So she did not want to leave her, guys. She loved her, and she was clinging on, and she wanted to follow her to this new place that she was going to. And listen to what it says in verse 18. When Naomi saw that Ruth was determined, and I scratched that word in my Bible, determined to go with her, she stopped trying to persuade her. What are you determined to do? Sometimes we need to make up our mind and say, this is what I'm going to do no matter what. And I can so relate to that in a few things in my life. One of the things that I will share with you is that, having it is not, it's not something that I do every week, because obviously I have a life, and, things happen, and I'm involved with my kids, and I'm being a wife and a mother, and we do so many other things. But this is something that I'm determined to do. I am determined to minister to women as much as I can, And when I have that opportunity, when I have that time, when I'm available, I am going to do it. So sometimes we have to have that determination. Go for it. Do that crazy thing. So when Naomi saw that Ruth was determined to go with her, she stopped trying to persuade her. So she said, man, this chick is for real. My daughter-in-law does not want to leave my side. She wants to go with me. She was like her ride or die. And, you know, she stopped trying to persuade. She was like, okay, there's nothing that I can say to her that's going to make her change her mind. And I also think about, like, what if she didn't have any family? Like, what if Ruth didn't have any family to go back to? And she was like, what am I going to go back to? There's nothing to go back to. So I often think about that. And it says the two of them traveled until they came back to Bethlehem, which is called the House of Bread. When they entered Bethlehem, the whole town was excited about their arrival. You know, I think about that. The whole town was excited about their arrival. That means that they were known. People knew them. They knew who they were. And they were excited that they were coming back. And it says that the local woman said, could that be Naomi? And then Naomi said to them, call me Mara, she answered, for the Almighty has made me very bitter. Oh, she didn't want to be called Naomi anymore. She wanted to be called bitter, which meant Mara. And how many times do we want to wallow? We want to wallow in those situations. Oh, I know. It's so easy to just get stuck and replay it over in your mind and fester in it. And you know what? The more that we give it thought, the more that we think about it, it like grows, and like our imagination takes control, and like our imagination can go in so many places. Like, am I just making this up, or are you ladies like understand what I'm talking about? Like, our imagination can create scenarios, like crazy scenarios in our mind. And like, we're like, yeah, you know, like sometimes you're like agreeing with yourself in your mind, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going to do that ever, and blah, 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 because so-and-so did this to me, and, but you know, don't let those things, don't get caught up in those things. She said, this is Naomi talking, I went away full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has pronounced judgment on me? So there she was thinking, already she was condemning herself. She was condemning herself. Hey, Angie. She was condemning herself. You know, God has put judgment on me. Like, how many times do we condemn ourselves? And God's saying, hello, I see you. I'm not thinking about you that way. Quit thinking about, you know, that situation that way, or quit thinking like that. Because, hey, Sherry, what's up? Miss you too. So glad you're on here. How many times do we condemn ourselves? We're like our worst enemy. And that's what she was saying. The Lord has pronounced judgment on me. Already she had said, God, you know, God's done this to me. He's checked me off. And I can so relate to that. So many times I'm like, you know what? God's not listening to me. He's not listening to my prayer. He's not listening to what I'm asking. He's not listening to any of that. And that's exactly what she had done. But sometimes that's all a part of God's plan. We get ourselves into these like crazy situations. We imagine it. We create these crazy scenarios, and that's right where God wants us to be, because God is our Redeemer, and He redeems our situations. And that's when He steps in and He does what only He can do. So let's keep on reading, because we're almost done with chapter 1, verse 22. So Naomi came back from the land of Moab with her daughter-in-law Ruth, the Moabitess. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. And I circled that because how crazy is it that they come back to the land, which is called the House of Bread, right? And guys, they arrived at the perfect time, at the beginning of a harvest. Like, tell me that God is not setting them up. Tell me that God doesn't have a plan. That is over. God has something better. He has a plan. He's working things out for our good. And that verse right there, verse 22, if you want to highlight it in your Bible, circle it, print it out, glue it on your forehead. I don't know. Sometimes, you just need to like look at it a million times, like me. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. That gives me hope. That gives me, God's got something up his sleeve, and he's going to blow their mind. And I know the story, so I know I'm excited. I know what comes next. So I just hope that you guys read over this chapter 1, dwell in it, dwell in verse 16 and 17 when Ruth replies back to Naomi and makes that declaration, I'm not leaving you, I'm going where you're going. Sometimes we need to make those declarations, I don't know, to situations in our life. Like, I'm not leaving, I'm not giving up on my marriage. I'm going to keep on, being married to this person because God put me together with this person and he has a plan. Sometimes, you may want to apply it to your job or that person at your job. Like, I know, okay, no, I'm not going to put her on the spot. But like, sometimes our job can be like our job can stink. And you're faced with that coworker that you don't want to see every day. But you know what? God has a purpose. God has a plan of why you're there with that coworker. And, he's maybe a little grace. Show that coworker a little grace, a little patience, a little love, a little kindness. Lord, I can't stress that enough. So we're going to end there with chapter 1. Read it and read that verse 22, the beginning of the barley harvest. What does God have for you? What kind of harvest does he have for you? It's coming up. So I'm hoping to film again here soon. I don't know. We're trying to figure this out because spring break is next week. But I want to do chapter 2 either before or, sorry ladies, it'll have to be when I get back from spring break next week. But yeah, leave me your comments. Let me know what you thought of this live, short Bible study. I hope that you love it, and I hope that you can join me in reading this chapter, these chapters through the Bible. I love this book. It's full of hope, determination. We see God being a redeemer. And when I was reading this and I wanted to do this a couple months ago, I got a hashtag, I am Ruth, because Ruth shows is like the ultimate book of God being a redeemer. And man, we all have stories of God redeeming us in different ways in our lives. So yeah, if you're feeling like Ruth one day, just hashtag I am Ruth. So yeah. All right, ladies. Well, I will see you guys soon. Bye. Thank you all for joining me.